"Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous." This phrase, attributed to Albert Einstein, echoes through time like a whisper of truth that few dare to fully explore. In a seemingly random universe, why do meaningful patterns continue to emerge in our lives? Why do we meet the right person at the exact moment? Why do we think of someone seconds before receiving their call? Why do certain numbers, symbols, and signs seem to follow us? Have you ever felt that unsettling sensation that the universe is trying to tell you something? That shiver down your spine when a coincidence seems too perfect to be accidental? You are not alone, and more importantly, you are not imagining things. Today, we're going to dive deeply into the phenomenon of synchronicities, those moments of meaningful alignment that defy conventional explanations. We'll explore what brilliant minds like Einstein, Jung, and Tesla understood about the interconnected nature of reality, and how this knowledge can fundamentally transform your perception of the world and your place in it. This is not just another video about curious coincidences. This is a profound exploration of the hidden structure of reality, a structure that modern science is only beginning to understand, but that ancient traditions and some of history's greatest geniuses already recognized. Prepare to question your most basic assumptions about how the universe works, because once you begin to recognize the synchronicities in your life, once you learn to read this universal language, you will never see reality the same way again. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to see the world through a specific lens, a lens of separation, mechanism, and randomness. We are taught that the universe is a giant machine, operating according to impersonal physical laws, where events occur by chance or by simple cause and effect. Think about your own childhood. How many times did you have a strong intuition, felt an inexplicable connection with someone, or experienced a moment of perfect synchronicity? And how many times were you told it was just your imagination, just coincidence or magical thinking? This conditioning is not accidental. A system based on control and predictability needs people who believe only in the tangible, the measurable, the scientifically proven. People who trust their intuition, who recognize deeper patterns, who feel the interconnection of all things. These people are harder to control, to predict, to fit into convenient boxes. Conventional education reinforces this paradigm. In schools, we are trained to memorize facts, follow linear procedures, and trust external authorities. We are rarely encouraged to develop our intuition, explore non-obvious connections, or question the fundamental nature of reality. Mainstream science has largely adopted a materialistic and reductionist view of the universe. Within this paradigm, synchronicities are dismissed as cognitive biases, just your brain looking for patterns where none exist. Terms like confirmation bias, epiphania, and pareidolia are used to pathologize our natural ability to recognize meaningful patterns. But here's the irony. Some of the greatest scientists in history, those whose discoveries revolutionized our understanding of the universe, recognized that there was something deeper at play. They saw beyond the mechanistic paradigm and glimpsed a more interconnected, more responsive, more conscious reality. Albert Einstein, whose theories transformed modern physics, often spoke about the interconnection of all things. His famous quote, "Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous," suggests an understanding that there is an underlying intelligence operating through what we call coincidences. Nikola Tesla, the genius whose inventions shaped the modern world, was known for his deep intuition and connection with what he called the primary field. A Tesla said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." He understood that the universe was not made of solid matter, but of interconnected and resonant energy fields. And Carl Jung, one of the founders of modern psychology, was so impacted by the phenomenon of meaningful coincidences that he coined the term synchronicity, and dedicated years of his life to studying it. Jung defined synchronicity as a temporal coincidence of two or more causally unrelated events which have the same meaning or similar content. These were not marginal mystics or conspiracy theorists. They were some of the greatest intellects who ever lived. And all of them, in different ways, recognized that there was a deeper organizing principle in the universe, something that transcended purely mechanistic explanations. So why isn't this knowledge more widely accepted? Why do we remain stuck in a paradigm that reduces life to mechanical processes and meaningless coincidences? The answer is complex, involving historical, cultural, and even economic factors. But perhaps the deepest reason is that recognizing the reality of synchronicities forces us to question our most fundamental assumptions about the nature of consciousness, time, and reality itself. To truly understand synchronicities, we first need to clarify what they are and what they are not. Synchronicities are not just random coincidences. They are events that share a common meaning but have no obvious causal connection. It's when the inner world, thoughts, feelings, dreams, and the outer world, physical events, align in ways that seem impossible according to the laws of probability. Think of the classic example. You're thinking about a friend you haven't seen in years, and minutes later you receive a call from that person. Or you notice a specific number, say 1111, and start seeing it everywhere. Clocks, license plates, receipts. Or you open a book randomly and find exactly the passage that answers the question that was on your mind. The conventional explanation for these events is chance combined with confirmation bias. They say you only notice these patterns because you're looking for them, ignoring all the times when coincidences don't occur. But this explanation fails on several levels. First, it doesn't explain the precision and perfect timing of many synchronicities. Second, it doesn't explain why synchronicities often occur at moments of great emotional significance or transition in life. And third, it doesn't explain why synchronicities often contain information we couldn't have consciously known. Carl Jung proposed a deeper explanation. He suggested that synchronicities arise from what he called the collective unconscious, a shared field of consciousness that transcends individual minds. In this model, synchronicities are moments when the veil between the conscious and the unconscious becomes temporarily thinner, allowing archetypal patterns to manifest simultaneously in our psyche and in the physical world. Jung collaborated with physicist Wolfgang Pauli, Nobel Prize winner, to explore how this concept might relate to emerging quantum physics. Together, they suggested that synchronicities could represent an acausal organizing principle, a principle that operates beyond the limitations of space, time, and linear causality. Modern physics offers some fascinating clues about how this might work. Quantum entanglement demonstrates that particles that have been connected continue to influence each other instantaneously, no matter the distance separating them. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance and considered it one of the most disconcerting aspects of quantum theory. More recently, theories such as retrocausal causality suggest that future events can influence the past, challenging our linear understanding of time. And the zero-point field in quantum physics describes an omnipresent energy field that could serve as a medium for information transfer beyond the limitations of space-time. Nikola Tesla seemed to intuit something similar when he spoke about the ether, a medium that permeates all space and serves as a conductor for energy and information. Tesla said, "Our brains have a core of reception that vibrates in response to resonances in the universe. I am merely a conductor for a greater intelligence." But perhaps the deepest explanation comes from ancient spiritual traditions. Many indigenous cultures see synchronicities as communications from the spirit world. Eastern traditions like Taoism speak of the Tao, the underlying flow that connects all things. And concepts like karma in Hinduism and Buddhism suggest a web of causality that transcends linear time. What all these perspectives have in common is the understanding that reality is fundamentally interconnected, that there exists a unified field of consciousness or information that transcends the barriers of space and time, and that synchronicities are moments when this interconnection becomes briefly visible to us. Viewed through this prism, synchronicities are not inexplicable anomalies or tricks of the mind. They are glimpses of the true nature of reality, a reality much richer, more complex, and more interactive than the mechanistic model led us to believe. Synchronicities manifest in countless forms in our lives. Recognizing them and understanding their different types can help identify the specific patterns and messages they may contain. Let's explore some of the most common forms that synchronicities take. The first type are meaningful encounters, when you meet exactly the right person at the exact moment. Think of the person who sits next to you on the plane and ends up having the solution to a problem you were facing, or the stranger who casually mentions the book that will change your life. These encounters often occur at moments of transition or when we are seeking answers. Consider the story of how Steve Jobs met Steve Wozniak, a coincidence that led to the founding of Apple and revolutionized technology, or how Carl Jung met Sigmund Freud through a series of unlikely events, an encounter that transformed modern psychology. History is full of these seemingly accidental meetings that altered its course. The second type are numerical patterns, sequences of numbers that appear repeatedly. The most common are mirrored numbers like 1111, 2222, or sequences like 123, 1234. Many people report seeing the same number or numerical pattern constantly, on clocks, license plates, receipts, addresses, often at moments of decision or contemplation. These numerical patterns have been considered significant in many traditions. In numerology, each number carries a specific vibration or meaning. In Jewish Kabbalah, numbers are seen as divine codes, and in modern mathematics, numerical patterns like the Fibonacci sequence appear repeatedly in nature, suggesting an underlying organizing principle. The third type are object and symbol synchronicities, when certain objects, animals, or symbols appear repeatedly in your life. Perhaps you keep seeing butterflies at important moments, or find feathers in your path when contemplating a decision. Or notice that a specific symbol, like an anchor, a key, or a star, keeps appearing in different contexts. These symbols often carry deep archetypal meanings. Jung observed that certain symbols appear in cultures separated by time and geography, suggesting they emerge from the collective unconscious. When these symbols appear synchronistically in our lives, they may be bringing messages from the unconscious to consciousness. The fourth type are media synchronicities, when you hear a song, read a book, or watch a program that seems to be directly responding to your thoughts or current situation. You're contemplating a major life change and turn on the radio to hear exactly the lyrics you needed. Or you open a book randomly and find a passage that answers the question you were asking. These synchronicities are particularly powerful because they often contain specific messages or guidance. It's as if the universe is using these mediums to communicate directly with you, offering the exact wisdom or perspective you need at that moment. The fifth type are premonitory dreams and intuitions, when you dream about something that later happens, or have a strong intuition that proves correct. These phenomena suggest that our consciousness can somehow access information beyond the normal limitations of space and time. Many scientists and inventors have reported receiving crucial insights through dreams, like Dmitry Mendeleev, who saw the periodic table in a dream, or August Kekulé, who discovered the structure of benzene after dreaming of a serpent biting its own tail. These experiences suggest that during sleep, our mind can access a field of information that transcends conscious knowledge. The sixth type are cycle and timing synchronicities, when events unfold with perfect timing that defies causal explanation. The important email that arrives exactly when you needed it. the opportunity that emerges precisely when you're ready for it, the obstacle that appears just as you were taking the wrong path. These timing synchronicities suggest that there is an underlying rhythm or flow to life, what the ancient Chinese called divine timing, or what the Greeks called kairos, the opportune moment in contrast to chronos, chronological time. They invite us to consider that perhaps there is a more intelligent orchestration of events than our linear model of time suggests. Recognizing these different types of synchronicities in your own life is the first step to beginning to read the messages they may contain. Because synchronicities are not just curiosities, they are a form of communication, a dialogue between your consciousness and the greater intelligence of the universe. Although synchronicities may seem mystical or supernatural, modern science is beginning to offer fascinating explanations for how they might occur. Far from contradicting the phenomenon, recent discoveries in physics, neuroscience, and biology are opening new possibilities for understanding these seemingly impossible events. Quantum physics has revolutionized our understanding of reality by revealing that, at the subatomic level, the universe does not behave according to the deterministic laws of classical physics. Phenomena such as superposition, entanglement, and non-locality challenge our basic notions of cause and effect, space and time. Quantum entanglement, in particular, offers a potential model for synchronicities. When particles become entangled, they maintain an instantaneous connection regardless of distance. A change in one particle is instantly reflected in the other, no matter if they are separated by centimeters or light years. Physicist David Bohm proposed that the universe operates like a hologram, where each part contains information about the whole. His theory of implicate order suggests that beneath the apparent separation of objects in space-time, there exists a deeper, unified reality, what he called the implicate order. In this model, synchronicities would be moments when the implicate order becomes briefly visible in the explicate order of our everyday experience. Biologist Rupert Sheldrake's work on morphic fields offers another perspective. Sheldrake proposes that similar systems, whether molecules, plants, animals, or ideas, are connected by invisible fields that transmit information and influence. These fields could explain phenomena such as knowing when someone is thinking of you or having the same idea as someone else simultaneously. Neuroscience also offers insights. Our brain is an extraordinary pattern recognition machine, capable of detecting subtle correlations that our conscious mind may not perceive. The reticular activating system, RAS, constantly filters the enormous amount of sensory information, highlighting what is relevant based on our interests, needs, and emotional states. This could explain why we notice certain synchronicities. Our brain is literally programmed to detect meaningful patterns. However, this doesn't fully explain synchronicities that involve information we couldn't have consciously known, or events that occur with statistically improbable timing. Some researchers propose that our consciousness may interact with reality in ways that science doesn't yet fully understand. Controversial experiments, such as those conducted by the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research, PEER, suggested that human intention can subtly influence random physical systems. Dr. Dean Radin's work at the Institute of Noetic Sciences has examined phenomena such as presentiment, the ability of the body to react to future events before they occur. His experiments have shown that physiological measures such as skin conductance and pupil dilation can change seconds before the presentation of an emotionally charged stimulus, suggesting that our physiology can somehow sense the future. Perhaps the most fascinating frontier is the intersection between consciousness and quantum physics. Theorists such as Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff have proposed that consciousness emerges from quantum processes in the brain. If true, this could mean that our consciousness operates at a level where normal space-time limitations do not apply. Physicist John Wheeler went further with his concept of the participatory universe, in suggesting that the observer's consciousness not only perceives reality, but actively participates in its creation. In this model, synchronicities could be understood as moments when our conscious participation in the creation of reality becomes briefly perceptible to us. It's important to note that these theories remain speculative and controversial within the mainstream scientific community. However, they represent serious attempts by respected scientists to explain phenomena that challenge the dominant materialist paradigm. What is particularly interesting is how these cutting-edge scientific theories begin to converge with insights from ancient spiritual traditions. The idea of a unified field of consciousness, of a fundamentally interconnected reality, of a non-linear relationship with time. These concepts appear in both quantum physics and in millennia-old spiritual texts. Recognizing synchronicities is just the first step. The real power comes from learning to work with them, to use them as a tool for navigation, growth, and conscious manifestation. Let's explore practical methods to increase your awareness of synchronicities and integrate them into your everyday life. The first step is simply to pay attention. Most people go through life on autopilot, rarely noticing the subtle patterns and connections around them. Begin to cultivate a broader awareness of your environment, of interesting coincidences, of recurring patterns. Keep a synchronicity journal to record these events. You'll be surprised at how frequently they occur once you start noticing them. Practice what Buddhists call beginner's mind, an openness to seeing the world without assumptions or ready-made explanations. When you encounter a synchronicity, resist the urge to immediately dismiss it as just coincidence. Allow yourself to consider, what if this is meaningful? What could the message be here? The second step is to interpret the meaning. Synchronicities often speak through symbols, metaphors, and personal associations. When you encounter a synchronicity, ask yourself, what does this symbol or event mean to me personally? What was my mental or emotional state when this occurred? What question or dilemma was on my mind? Remember that the meaning of a synchronicity is often subjective and contextual. The same symbol can have different meanings for different people, or even for the same person at different times. Trust your intuition and the emotional resonances you feel. They are often more reliable guides than standardized interpretations. The third step is to align with the flow. Synchronicities often appear when we are on the right path, when our actions are aligned with our deeper purpose. They can serve as confirmation signs, encouraging us to continue in the direction we are heading. Conversely, the absence of synchronicities or the presence of constant obstacles may indicate that we are out of alignment. In these moments, it is helpful to pause, recalibrate, and consider whether we are trying to force something that is not in our best interest. The fourth step is to cultivate receptive states. Certain conditions seem to increase the occurrence of synchronicities. Meditative states, where the conscious mind is quiet, allow more subtle patterns to emerge. Periods of transition or crisis in life often bring waves of synchronicities, perhaps because we are more open to guidance in these moments. Practices such as meditation, journaling, walks in nature, or any activity that calms the constant internal dialogue can increase your receptivity to synchronicities. Many people report that synchronicities increase dramatically when they begin regular spiritual practices or personal development work. The fifth step is to ask conscious questions. You can actively invite synchronicities by asking for guidance on specific issues. Formulate a clear question in your mind or write it in your journal. Then, remain attentive to signs, symbols, or coincidences that might offer insights. This process is not magical or supernatural. It's simply a way to access the wisdom of your unconscious and the larger field of information to which we are all connected. By formulating a clear question, you are essentially programming your reticular activating system to filter relevant information from the vast ocean of data that your brain constantly processes. The sixth step is to take inspired action. Synchronicities often point to directions or opportunities, but it's up to you to act on them. When you recognize a significant synchronicity, ask yourself, what action is this insight inviting me to take? How can I integrate this message into my life? Sometimes the necessary action is obvious. Call the person who came to your mind. Explore the opportunity that appeared synchronistically. Follow the path that unexpectedly opened. Other times, the message is more subtle, inviting an internal shift in perspective or attitude. The seventh step is to cultivate gratitude. When you experience synchronicities, take a moment to express gratitude for the guidance, for the connection, for the reminder that you are not alone in your journey. This attitude of gratitude not only enriches your experience, but also seems to open the door for more synchronicities. Many people report that the more they acknowledge and thank for synchronicities, the more frequently they occur. This creates a virtuous cycle of expanded awareness and deeper connection with the flow of life. Finally, remember that working with synchronicities is a practice, something that develops and deepens over time. Don't worry if it seems confusing or uncertain at first. Like any new skill, your ability to recognize, interpret, and respond to synchronicities will strengthen with practice. Over time, you may discover that synchronicities are not just occasional events, but a continuous mode of navigation, a way of living in conscious dialogue with the greater intelligence of the universe. This is the state that Jung called living synchronistically, where the distinction between coincidence and meaning begins to dissolve, and you recognize that you are actively participating in the creation of your reality. Einstein, Jung, and Tesla, three of the greatest geniuses of the modern era, recognized, each in their own way, that the universe is not a cold, impersonal machine, but a living, interconnected, and responsive system. They saw beyond the mechanistic paradigm and glimpsed a reality where mind and matter, interior and exterior, individual and cosmos are fundamentally entangled. This vision does not contradict science. In fact, the most advanced discoveries in quantum physics, complex systems, and neuroscience are beginning to validate what mystics and philosophers intuited millennia ago. That reality is a unified web of energy and information, and that our consciousness is an active part of that web. When you begin to recognize synchronicities in your own life, you are taking the first step to awakening to this deeper reality. You are beginning to see beyond the illusion of separation and randomness, and to recognize the patterns, connections, and meanings that have always been there. This awakening is not just intellectual, it is experiential and transformative. Living synchronistically means living in a state of continuous dialogue with the universe. It means recognizing that you are not alone in your journey, that there is a greater intelligence guiding, supporting and co-creating with you every step of the way. Perhaps the most profound insight is that synchronicities reveal the participatory nature of reality. They show us that we are not mere passive observers of an objective universe, but active co-creators of our experience. Our consciousness, intention, and attention literally shape the reality we encounter. As physicist John Wheeler said, "No phenomenon is a real phenomenon until it is an observed phenomenon." Or in the words of the mystic Rumi, written over 800 years ago, "The universe is not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you already are." So the next time you experience a synchronicity, that number that keeps appearing, that chance encounter that changes everything, that perfect message that arrives at the perfect moment, remember, it's not just coincidence. It's a reminder that you are connected to something greater, that there is a deeper pattern and purpose in your life. It's an invitation to awaken to the true nature of reality, a reality far more magical, meaningful, and responsive than we've been taught to believe. A reality where, as Einstein, Jung, and Tesla understood, everything is fundamentally connected, and where your consciousness is a powerful creative force. Thank you for embarking on this journey of exploring synchronicities. Remember, reality is constantly speaking to you. The question is, are you listening? If this video resonated with you, leave a comment sharing a meaningful synchronicity you've experienced. And don't forget to subscribe for more explorations of the nature of consciousness and reality. Until next time.